Hey everybody, it's Craig Bechter here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do frequency separation, and I've also created two actions for you, one for 8-bit images and one for 16-bit images. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, so first I'm going to show you how to do it manually, and then I'm going to show you how to load the action, so it'll just save you a ton of time. So here we are, we're starting on the background layer. Now I'm going to go Command J twice. I'm on the Mac. I believe on the PC Command is Control. So I've got two extra layers. I'm going to call this bottom one low, and then I'm going to go up to the next one. I'm going to call that one high. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm separating the two frequencies. So I've got the low frequency and then I've got the high frequency. So I'll show you how that works. So now I've got the two layers. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable that top layer temporarily. I'm going to click on low. I'm going to come up to filter and Gaussian blur. Now people will use Gaussian blur, surface blur, dust and scratches. There's really different ways to blur the image. And all I'm doing essentially is blurring some of the texture. So this is a 16-bit image. It's around 22 megapixels. The 8 radius seems to work for me on this. Now you may want to experiment between 8, and I've seen people go as high as 22. So I would just play around with that. But by default, I've set my actions at 8. So we've blurred that. Now I'm just going to enable the high layer. I'm going to come up here and say image, and then we're going to do apply image. And then this is basically a 16-bit, so the formula is layer low, blending add, scale 2, offset 0, check the invert box, and say OK. And then you've got this high pass look. We're going to come over to our blend mode, and then we're going to say linear light. And then what I like to do is put a layer between these two, and then I could call this blend. And then what I'm going to do is the low frequency, I'm going to work on that blend layer so that I don't mess up my low layer. And then if I go too far, I can reduce the opacity or I can add a mask. So that's why I like to do that. And then what I can do is I can group these layers. So I'll just show you how to do that. I'll just highlight these 3 layers and Command G on the Mac, and then I can call this frequency separation. And then basically I can toggle that on and off. Also, I like to add a black and white layer, so I'll show you how to do that. You just come up here to black and white. And then I'll take the red channel and I'll just drag that down to about, let's say, -30. Now I can look at the different tones and I could say, well, do I want to blend these or not? So if I zoom in, Command plus, and a couple of areas that I might want to work on, most people will have this under the eye. You might want to work on that area. And then you're just kind of blending some tones to make them look a little more natural. And it's almost like a dodge and burn, but it's just a different way to kind of achieve a similar method. So anyway, I'm going to show you how to load the actions now. So let me just zoom out, and then I'll show you how to load the actions, because that's going to be easier for you and it'll save you a lot of time. So I'm just going to delete these layers. We're back on our background layer. I'm going to come up and I'm going to load these actions. So if I come up to this little box here and then come down here, it says load actions. And this is what the actions are going to look like. It's called CraigBechter.com FS actions. So there's the action for the 16-bit and the 8-bit. I'm going to click open, and you can see we have it right there. So this is a 16-bit image, so I'm going to click on this one, and then I'm going to click play. And now that's going to go through. It's going to create the low layer, the high layer, the blend layer. It's going to group them, and then it's also going to create that black and white layer that will help you to see the darker areas. So that's just going to go through and do that, and then I'm going to walk you through really quickly basically how to do this technique. And like I said, if you feel like you went too far, you could just go to the blend layer and then you could reduce the opacity, or you could add a mask to that layer. So it looks like we're almost ready to go. It's going to go through all this, like I said, and then leave us on the blend layer. So let's just enable that black and white layer, make sure we're on the blend layer, and then we're just going to zoom in, and I'll quickly show you how this works. So we're going to hit B for the brush tool, and one trick is you can hold the Control Option key, or it's different on the PC, obviously. Now, if I go left, it makes my brush really small. If I go right, it makes my brush bigger. If I go up, it makes my brush soft. If I go down, it makes my brush hard. So I've got a soft brush, and about that size right there is pretty good for me. And then, so all I have to do is hit the Option key in a nearby skin area, and then I can just blend this in. So I'll do a little bit here. Now, one thing I want to point out too is I have my opacity set at 100 and my flow at 2. And that way I can gradually bring this in. So you can see I'm sampling nearby areas. and I'm just kind of blending this area here, and it really looks like I'm not doing anything. But if I come over to the blend layer and I click off of it, you just look under her eye there, you can see that it's starting to work. So like I said, a lot of people have a little bit of darker area under their eyes. It's nothing major. I mean, you're going to encounter this quite a bit. And it's just one way to kind of deal with this. And essentially, you're really just blending tones, and that's a way to do it. Now, what's good about this too is it separates the texture from the colors. So now that I'm on the high layer, I can come over here to use my healing brush. So I'll just click here and I'll show you how that looks. And then I'm going to use the healing brush to work on the texture. So I can just click here and sample that texture, and then I'm just sort of showing you how I would remove some of these. They're little freckles, but some people would have blemishes. She has pretty good skin, but that's how you work on the blemishes. You would work on the high layer and blend tones with the low layer. Now, one other thing you can do with the blend layer too, well, there's my alarm. One thing you can do too is, you see the shiny spot here? If I come up to my lasso tool, what I can do is, and if I go in the low layer, if I circle this, say, a little bit brighter area, I can come up to filter and say, actually what I'm going to do first is I want to take that and create a new layer, so I'm going to hit Command J. So that area I circled is now on its own layer. If I come up to filter and add a blur again, go to the Gaussian blur, it's set at 8. If I click OK, and I click on and off, just watch that shiny spot. It just sort of smooths it out. And then what also you can do too, make sure you go on the low layer again, is I can take that border of the shiny part and the darker part, Command J again to create a new layer, and then we'll hit Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and then what we'll do is we'll blend that brighter area with the darker area, and then again, I have these on their own layers. I can go Command G, I can group them, and then I've separated that from the skin tone blending with the reducing the brightness in that group, and I can toggle that on and off, and also I can mask that or reduce the opacity. So make sure that if you circle it with the low layer with your lasso tool, go Command J, make a new copy, and then you have everything on their own layers. So you still have your low and your high layers intact. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you click on the link, download those actions, install them just like I showed you, and that should save you a ton of time. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, share this video on the web, on Facebook, or wherever, and make sure you watch the rest of my videos. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.